Imagine arriving on a world that feels strangely familiar and then realizing almost everything about it is wrong. There are clouds in the sky, there is weather, there is rain, there are rivers, there are lakes. At first, it sounds impossible because this is not Earth. This is Titan, Saturn's largest moon, one of the strangest places in the solar system, and maybe one of the most unsettling, because Titan looks like a version of Earth rebuilt from memory, but rebuilt badly. Like the universe remembered the outline of our world, then replaced every important detail with something colder, darker, and less human. It has an atmosphere, it has seasons, it has winds, it has shorelines, but none of it feels safe, because on Titan, the rain is not water, the rivers are not water, the lakes are not water. On Titan, water is so cold it behaves like rock, hard, frozen, immovable. And the liquids flowing across the surface are methane and ethane, chemicals that on Earth would normally be gases. That is what Titan does to your mind. It gives you the shape of something familiar, then fills it with the wrong substance, and that is why it feels so disturbing. Titan is often called one of the most Earth-like worlds beyond Earth, and in some ways, that is true. It is the only moon in the solar system with a thick atmosphere. It has weather, it has rain, it has a liquid cycle on the surface. It has clouds, winds, rivers, and seas. If you describe Titan only by structure, it might sound comforting. But structure is not the same as life, and Titan is not comforting. It is a frozen alien world, where familiar processes are happening under conditions that would kill a human instantly. The surface temperature on Titan is around minus 179 degrees Celsius. That is cold beyond normal human imagination. Cold enough that water ice becomes as hard as stone. Cold enough that the world starts to feel chemically detached from anything our bodies were made to understand. Titan does not look terrifying in the obvious way. That is exactly why it gets under the skin. Venus looks hostile, Io looks violent, Europa feels trapped, but Titan feels familiar first. And then the details turn against you. The sky on Titan would not be blue. It would be buried beneath a thick orange haze, rich in nitrogen, and loaded with complex organic chemistry. Sunlight would struggle through it. Daytime would feel dim, muted, and distant, as if the world were permanently stuck between evening and stormlight. You would not look up and feel freedom. You would feel enclosed, and the atmosphere itself would feel heavy. Titan's air is denser than Earth's, which makes it one of the strangest worlds to imagine standing on. In theory, with low gravity and thick air, flying there could be easier than on Earth. A human with wings could glide more easily on Titan than almost anywhere else in the solar system. That sounds beautiful, until you remember where you are, because beneath you would be a world of frozen ground, hydrocarbon lakes, toxic chemistry, and temperatures so extreme that exposed human flesh would fail almost instantly. Titan's atmosphere may soften the environment in one sense, but it is not breathable, not warm, and not forgiving. That is what Titan keeps doing. It offers one almost inviting detail, then poisons the entire picture around it. Its atmosphere is mostly nitrogen, like Earth's. That sounds familiar. But mixed into that atmosphere are methane and layers of organic compounds that give Titan its haze and much of its strange chemistry. Sunlight and energetic particles trigger reactions high above the surface, creating even more complex molecules that drift downward over time. Titan is not just a moon, it is a giant chemical machine. And then there are the lakes. Titan is the only world beyond Earth where we know there are stable liquids on the surface in large amounts. That fact alone is extraordinary. But again, the familiarity is a trap. These are not water lakes beneath a breathable sky. They are lakes and seas of liquid methane and ethane, especially near the poles, sitting under a dim orange atmosphere. Imagine standing on the shore of an alien sea where the waves are made of hydrocarbons and the cold is so severe that normal human ideas about weather stop making sense. That is Titan, a coastline that feels like a memory of Earth, stripped of comfort. Some of these seas are enormous. Kraken Mare is vast enough to feel like a true alien ocean. There are shorelines, channels, and broad, dark surfaces that look eerily familiar from orbit. But the more Earth-like Titan appears, the more unsettling it becomes, because every familiar shape leads to an unfamiliar truth. Rain, but wrong. Rivers, but wrong. Lakes, but wrong. Atmosphere, but wrong. Titan feels like Earth rebuilt with the wrong chemistry. And the surface is even stranger than that. Titan has vast dune fields stretching across parts of its surface, made not from ordinary sand, but from dark, organic particles. These dunes run for hundreds of kilometers in places, shaped by winds under a sky where sunlight is weak, and everything feels chemically altered. So even Titan's deserts are alien, and beneath all of that, maybe something stranger still. Scientists think Titan may hide a subsurface ocean beneath its icy crust, likely made mostly of water mixed with ammonia. That means Titan may contain two worlds at once, a hydrocarbon world at the surface, and a buried water-rich world below, a moon with layers of mystery stacked on top of each other. That complexity is part of what makes Titan so fascinating, and part of what makes it so eerie, because Titan never settles into one identity. It is not just a frozen moon, not just a world with weather, not just a chemical laboratory, not just a possible prebiotic environment. It is all of those things at once, and that matters because Titan may help us understand how complex chemistry develops before life begins. In some ways, it may preserve chemical processes that resemble parts of the early Earth before life transformed our planet. Not a duplicate Earth, but a world where organic chemistry plays out on a huge scale across atmosphere, surface, and time. That makes Titan scientifically priceless, but emotionally, it makes the moon feel even stranger. Because Titan is what happens when a world becomes chemically rich without becoming humanly welcoming. It has ingredients, it has structure, it has weather, it has chemistry, and yet it remains deeply inhospitable. That contradiction is what gives Titan its power over the imagination. It is one of the few places in the solar system that does not feel dead in the usual sense. It feels active, dynamic, weathered, alive in movement, but not in any way that belongs to us. Titan feels like a world that almost understands habitability, but misses it by a huge margin. And that may be more unsettling than obvious hostility. Because obvious hostility is easy to process. Near-familiar hostility is harder. Titan lets you imagine yourself there more easily than many other worlds. It has an atmosphere. It has haze. It has shorelines and rivers and rain. You can picture it, but the moment you picture it clearly, the entire image starts to collapse. You cannot breathe there. You cannot drink there. You cannot step outside unprotected there. You cannot trust the air, the ground, or the weather there. Even the light would feel wrong, filtered through orange haze, so thick the world might seem permanently half asleep. And then there is the silence. Titan is far from the sun, far from Earth, and wrapped in a thick atmosphere that makes it feel less like a dead rock and more like a sealed environment. A hidden place where weather moves, liquid gathers, and chemistry falls from the sky. But because it is so cold and so distant, all that activity feels detached from normal life. Not dead, not alive in the way we know, just alien in a way that stays with you. That is probably why Titan lingers in the mind. Some worlds scare us with fire, some with pressure, some with radiation. Titan does something subtler. It unsettles us by looking almost recognizable. Almost. That is the word that makes Titan so effective. If it looked completely bizarre, it would be easier to dismiss as just another alien world. But Titan keeps borrowing the visual language of home. It keeps using familiar shapes while replacing the meaning underneath. It looks like a place where life should make sense. But not our kind of life. Maybe no life at all on the surface. That uncertainty matters, because Titan occupies a strange place in the search for life. It may not be the obvious ocean world candidate that Europa or Enceladus is, but it remains one of the most intriguing worlds in the solar system for astrobiology. Some scientists wonder whether exotic chemistry could occur in its hydrocarbon lakes. Others focus on the buried ocean, or on Titan's value as a prebiotic laboratory. Either way, Titan refuses to be simple. And that refusal is part of what makes it unforgettable. It is a moon where the atmosphere is thick, the chemistry is rich, the weather is real, and the landscape feels eerily familiar, but where human beings would still be completely out of place. That is not a contradiction you forget. Saturn's presence above Titan only adds to the feeling. Titan belongs to the system of the ring giant, one of the most beautiful planetary systems we know. But Titan feels sealed inside its own orange world, as if Saturn somehow produced a moon that resembles Earth in outline, while remaining emotionally closer to a dream gone wrong. a cold dream, a dim dream, a chemically twisted version of home. That is Titan, a world where rain falls, but you cannot stand in it, where seas gather, but you cannot treat them like oceans of life, where the air is thick, but you cannot breathe it, where the landscape looks familiar, but every familiar detail has been replaced with something alien. So what does all of this mean for us? It means Titan is one of the most scientifically valuable places in the solar system, precisely because it feels so wrong. It shows us that Earth-like structure does not guarantee Earth-like comfort. It shows us that a world can have rivers, lakes, seasons, weather, and a thick atmosphere, and still be utterly hostile to human life. It also forces a humbling thought into your mind. Maybe the universe can create worlds that resemble home without ever intending them to be homes. Titan feels like an alien Earth gone wrong, because it sits right at the edge of recognition, close enough to trigger familiarity, far enough to deny belonging. And maybe that is the most unsettling part of all. Not that it is obviously dangerous, but that it almost makes sense. Almost breathable, almost livable, almost understandable, almost. And in space, almost can be more haunting than never. Titan is not just a moon of methane lakes and orange haze. It is a reminder that the universe can build places that look like echoes of Earth while remaining completely indifferent to us. A world with rivers but no water, clouds but no comfort, rain but no relief, an atmosphere but no breath. That is not just alien. That is familiar in all the wrong ways.